For the most part, Courage the Cowardly Dog seemed like a cartoon about a pink dog who always found himself defending his family from weird supernatural entities, quickly gaining popularity from its unsettling creepy vibes and tones. And sure, the Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes were scary at times, mostly stemming from the antagonists themselves, but there is one episode in particular that stood out from the rest, scaring viewers in more ways than one, and this episode is titled The Mask. The Mask is the 7th episode of the 4th season of the show, and it's known for its very dark and disturbing themes such as abuse and violence, as well as other themes I'm not even allowed to say, which is surprising because after all, this is a show meant for children, which is why the creator, John Dilworth, was also surprised Cartoon Network was able to release the episode. So without further delay, let's see why The Mask was the Courage the Cowardly Dog episode that shouldn't have aired. The Mask starts off in an empty field where we see Muriel collecting chicken eggs and Courage sleeping on the side, until a mysterious figure with a feminine mask walks up to Courage and says dogs are evil, which wakes him up, and after one look at the person, Courage begins to scream, and before Courage is able to run away, the masked figure starts to beat him with the sink, leaving some pretty nasty goose eggs on him. And this gets Muriel's attention, but being the innocent lady that she is, she mistakes the masked person for one of Courage's friends, so she decides to invite her inside for some tea. But after Courage tries to warn Muriel about the masked person, they are left alone and she begins to attack him again, but with a washing machine this time. Once inside, the masked person reveals that her name is Kitty, and she came from the wrong side of the tracks where her closest friend Bunny is staying with the dog Gangster she fell in love with. But Kitty explains that the gangster mistreats Bunny and treats her like a slave, so when he heard about the idea of Kitty and Bunny running away together, he threatened Kitty's life, which ultimately forced her to abandon her home and closest friend, with the chance of never seeing her again. But when Eustace sarcastically tells her that she might see better without her mask, she throws her tea off the table and storms out, muttering the words, "Dogs are evil," once again. Later in the afternoon, Kitty is seen walking in on Courage watching TV, but she interrupts him by lifting a large fish and striking him over the head with it. And when Muriel walks in on them, she mistakes the beating for more messing around. But this doesn't stop here. Moments later, we see Courage helping Muriel fix the toilet until Kitty follows him and uses Courage as a plunger, which Eustace ignores as well. During dinner time, Eustace asks Kitty what she's hiding from since she won't take off her mask, and she tells them that she doesn't want to face reality. So Muriel chimes in and tells her everybody must face reality, which enables Kitty to expose the couple for their ironic answers. She reveals that Muriel has been secretly eating more dessert, while Eustace has been lying about his ability to fix things, which makes Eustace storm out and go to bed. After dinner, Muriel shows Kitty her room, and when everybody goes to bed, Courage decides to spy on Kitty through the keyhole, and he sees her taking out a toy mouse and playing with it. But shortly after, Kitty stands up and takes off her mask, revealing her true identity, and this scares Courage enough to run to Eustace and Muriel's room to wake them up, and warn them about the monster he saw. But they ignore him, and Muriel tells Courage that Kitty is simply a guest who came from the wrong side of the tracks. But this creates the wrong image in Courage's head, still not fully trusting the strange person. So after kicking him out of their room, Courage gets the idea to take Kitty's mouse and give it to the police, in hopes they recognize the toy and arrest her. But in order to start his plan, he must first ensure the safety of Muriel and Eustace, so he decides to lock their door from the outside before making his way into Kitty's room. Once inside, he tries to take the toy from her hand, but it doesn't seem it's going to work, so instead he grabs a feather from her pillow and tickles her until she releases the toy, allowing him to quickly grab it and get out of her room. And we see Courage take Eustace's truck and drive into town, where he's eating inside a diner, and inside he takes out the toy mouse to inspect it a little closer, which reveals that the mouse was actually a gift from Bunny to Kitty, which spooks Courage enough for him to yell and get the attention of the clerk, who recognizes the toy and tells Courage that the two friends were actually very nice people, until Bunny's partner, Mad Dog, forced him to split up because he was jealous of their bond. He also tells Courage that Mad Dog and his gang live down the road, and to send his best wishes for him when he rescues Bunny. And during this time, Muriel is seen trying to exit her room to go to the bathroom, but is obviously unable due to the lock, so she decides to wake Eustace up to help her, only to find out that he isn't able to open it either, which causes a bit of tension between the couple. Now back to Courage, we see he parked near a rundown building, and as he approaches it, he sees a pink car driving up to it, so he decides to hide behind a broken car. Once the car stops, a dog steps out, but he immediately catches a certain smell of something, and Courage is able to hide long enough until the dog realizes the smell is coming from him. So now that that's settled, the driver and another dog gangster open the door for Mad Dog, who tells Bunny to get out of the car, grabbing her arm and taking her into the building. And Courage sees and hears this, and he begins to connect the dots, realizing that Bunny might not be a monster after all. After this, Kitty is seen beginning to wake up when she isn't able to feel her toy mouse on her pillow, causing her to quickly get up and search her bed for the toy, even letting out a loud yell when she isn't able to find it, which Eustace and Muriel hear from the room below, and they also hear loud noises and crashes coming from her room, as well as the hateful things Kitty says about dogs. So assuming she's in danger, Muriel quickly sends out Eustace out the window to help her. And at this point of the episode, we actually hear the way Mad Dog talks to Bunny. He begins by asking Bunny if he still makes her happy, but his mood quickly changes when he starts questioning her about Kitty, telling Bunny to forget about her best friend, and Mad Dog starts to mention how he took her from rags to riches, in his own words, yet she still prefers Kitty over him. Now reaching a boiling point, he shouts at her, threatening to bury the both of them if he even gets a whiff of Kitty, which does make Bunny cry. So Mad Dog tries to comfort her, reminding her that she's still his girl, and they can return to the way things used to be, even hugging her. But when Bunny finds an opportunity, she clips his collar to the light behind them and she makes a run for it, even managing to grab her luggage. But as she makes her way towards the door to open it, Mad Dog's gangsters are both outside, forcing her to stay, and although the camera pans to Courage, we clearly hear the dogs grabbing Bunny as she repeatedly tells them to let go of her. They also release Mad Dog as he orders them to keep a hold of her. So after seeing this, Courage gets nervous, but he reminds himself that he still needs to save Muriel and Eustace, so he chooses to stay put. Back at the house, Eustace is seen trying to unlock the door to Kitty's room as she continues to bang on the door and freak out, ultimately deciding to run away instead. At the same time this is going down, Muriel is trying her best to hold in her urge to use the bathroom until she finds a bobby pin on the floor and she is able to free herself from her room and relieve herself. Back at Mad Dog's building, Courage starts to bang on the windows once the coast is clear to grab Bunny's attention, who is buried inside a giant pot. And when he is able to do so, she takes one look at him and begins to shake her head and raise her voice, expressing her dislike for dogs. But he's able to calm her down by showing her the toy mouse she gave to Kitty, and Bunny tells Courage to help her before the dogs return. But Courage is unable to open the window, so he decides to crash through it instead, which creates a sound loud enough for the gangsters to hear. So Courage quickly begins to dig her out, reminding himself of what's at home, until he is interrupted by one of the gangsters who enters the room. But when the dog finds Courage, it's too late. Courage turns off the light and begins to attack the dog with a nearby shovel. Revealing the damage the gangster has taken from him, Courage runs back to Bunny and pulls her out of the pot, which also gets the attention of two other dogs. Now back at the house, we see Eustace resorting to using explosives to open the door when he faces difficulty trying to open it, but Muriel interrupts him and offers the bobby pin she used on their door. And this does work. The couple enters Kitty's room and finds the mess she made, as well as an open window and rope Kitty used to excuse her absence. Now being forced to take out and bury the remaining gangsters, Bunny tells Courage that Mad Dog is making his way up to the room, so he quickly runs and crashes through the window again, signaling Bunny to follow him. And shortly after, Mad Dog barges in the door, looking for Bunny. But as Courage and Bunny realize they've reached a dead end, Mad Dog finds the two and runs to attack them. And with Courage running out of options to escape, he decides to unhook the ladder, evading Mad Dog's attack and crashing to the ground, where Courage hears a train in the distance quickly approaching them. And back at home, Muriel and Eustace apologize to each other and make up as Muriel begins to wonder where Courage is, which we see running towards the train with Bunny, while Mad Dog is chasing after them in his car. And when they reach the tracks, they take another look at Mad Dog. Courage hands a toy mouse to Bunny and tells her to run, staying back and waving his arms in the meantime to get Mad Dog's attention. But his plan quickly fails when Mad Dog begins to chase Bunny instead. So Courage starts to run after Mad Dog as he's closing in on Bunny, and he jumps through Mad Dog's window, taking a hold of the steering wheel and causing the car to steer onto the tracks and getting stuck. And the two yell when they see the train get closer, unable to drive away. But Courage jumps out the window, saving himself and leaving Mad Dog inside the vehicle, who crashes into the train. We see Bunny's reaction and the smoke appear from the chaos, and fortunately for Mad Dog, he does manage to live. But now realizing this is all over, Courage finally feels like he was able to save Muriel, and he stays on the ground before Bunny runs over to him to pet and compliment Courage on his bravery. And as she kisses him and thanks him for everything, they hear a familiar voice in the distance, who is none other than Kitty, seen riding on the back of the train, waving to her lost friend. And Bunny quickly begins to run after her, telling Kitty that Courage saved her life. And Kitty takes back what she said about all dogs being bad, and she helps her friend onto the train, finally embracing each other after so long. And as Courage smiles at the two friends, they are both seen waving at him and thanking him for helping them. And Courage is finally able to make his way back home to Muriel, who reveals that Eustace kept the mask Kitty wore, which wraps up the dark episode. As you saw, this episode is pretty dark and rightfully disturbing to so many. Addressing a sensitive topic and confronting uncomfortable themes might not be the best thing to watch on TV, but it does open the eyes of many people who are possibly unaware of the severity of the situations, although it was risky portraying this in a children's show. Well guys, it looks like that'll be it for today. Please make sure to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Later. Also, don't forget to check out these other videos I have on my channel.